The forgotten species, the Galactic Council chamber, hung in the void like a jewel of light and hope. For 800 years it had been the heart of civilization, a place where 1,000 species came together to forge peace among the stars. Today, that peace was dying. Ambassador Shakara stood before the Council's holographic display, her 4 eyes tracing the red zones spreading across the galactic map like blood in water. Each red marker represented a world consumed. Each one had been home to billions. Sector 12 has fallen, she reported, her voice steady despite the weight crushing her chest. The vector swarm continues its advance. Our projections estimate total galactic consumption within 18 standard cycles. Silence filled the chamber. The representatives of 1,000 worlds stared at the map, watching their future disappear. Councillor Vexen, eldest of the assembly, finally spoke. His voice trembled with age and fear. We have thrown everything at them. 17 combined fleets, the greatest military alliance in recorded history. And still they come. They don't negotiate, added Councillor Mira, her crystalline form flickering with distress. They don't stop. They don't die fast enough. They simply consume. Shakara had seen the battle reports. She had watched recordings of the vector swarm in action, billions of chittering armored creatures that moved as one mind, stripping planets bare in days, converting biomass into more of themselves. Conventional weapons barely slowed them. Nuclear fire only made them angry. The galaxy was losing. There must be something, Councillor Vexen said. Someone we haven't asked. Some species with weapons we haven't tried. The chamber fell into uncomfortable silence. Shakara felt her secondary heart skip. She knew what had to be said. She had known for weeks. But saying it meant admitting 3 centuries of failure and 3 centuries of fear. There is one option, she said quietly. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. We could ask the humans. The reaction was immediate: shock, disgust, fear. Councillor Vexen's face darkened. You cannot be serious. I am completely serious. The humans were quarantined for a reason. Councillor Mira's voice rose to a sharp chime. They are violent, unpredictable, dangerous. They turned their own world into a graveyard before they even reached the stars. That was 300 years ago, Shakara countered. We don't know what they've become. We know exactly what they are, Vexen snapped. Killers. When we first encountered them, they were in the middle of their 3rd global war. They had weapons designed to destroy their own planet. They fought each other with a hatred we couldn't comprehend. They also stopped, Shakara said. They unified. They reached for the stars. And we sent them back, Mira said coldly. We locked them behind a quarantine zone and told them never to leave Sol, for the safety of the galaxy. And now the galaxy is dying, Shakara said. Perhaps it's time to reconsider what safety means. Councillor Vexen stood, his long robes sweeping the floor. If we release the humans, we may be trading one extinction for another. At least the Vector only want to feed. The humans? We don't know what they want. We know they survived, Shakara said. Alone, quarantined, cut off from all galactic trade and knowledge. If they're still alive after 3 centuries of isolation, that means something. It means they're resilient, Vexen said. Like a virus. The chamber erupted in argument. Some councillors supported the idea out of desperation. Others refused out of ancient fear. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Councillor Vexen raised his hand for silence. Very well, he said, his voice heavy with resignation. Ambassador Shakara, you will take a diplomatic vessel to the Sol system. You will assess whether the humans still exist, and if they do, whether they can help us. He leaned forward, his eyes burning with intensity. But know this, if you return with an army of humans, and they prove to be as dangerous as we fear, the blood of the galaxy will be on your hands. Shakara bowed deeply. Understood, Counselor. 3 days later, her ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. The quarantine zone was supposed to be silent. Empty. A graveyard of a species too violent to survive isolation. Instead, Shakara's sensors screamed with activity. Impossible, her pilot whispered. The entire system was alive. Massive orbital stations ringed every planet. Shipyards stretched across the asteroid belt, their construction frames glowing with work. Defense platforms bristled with weapons she didn't recognize, and ships. Hundreds of them, sleek, angular, and dark as the void itself. They didn't die, Shikara breathed. They built. A communication signal pierced her ship's systems, crisp, professional, and utterly calm. Unknown vessel, you have entered Terran Union space. State your identity and purpose or be classified as hostile. Shikara's hands trembled as she opened the channel. This is Ambassador Shikara of the Galactic Council. I come seeking an audience with the leaders of humanity. There was a pause. Then, Ambassador, you are cleared to approach Earth. A diplomatic escort will guide you in. And Ambassador? Welcome to Sol. It's been a long time. Shikara's ship moved deeper into the system, flanked by 2 Terran destroyers. She stared out the viewport at the blue-green jewel of Earth growing larger, and at the dozens of massive warships hanging in orbit above it. The galaxy had abandoned humanity. But humanity had not been idle, as her ship descended toward the planet's surface. One thought filled Shikara's mind. What have we done? The price of isolation Earth looked nothing like the reports. 300 years ago, the Galactic Council's scans had shown a world recovering from environmental collapse and nuclear near misses. A species on the edge, barely holding itself together. Now, as Ambassador Shikara's shuttle descended through the clouds, she saw something else entirely. Cities gleamed like silver veins across every continent. Forests had returned in carefully managed bands between urban sprawl. The oceans were clean enough to see from orbit. And everywhere she saw signs of military preparation. Aerospace fighters patrolled the skies in perfect formations. Massive railgun installations dotted the landscape like metal mountains. Orbital elevators stretched into space, ferrying materials up and soldiers down. This wasn't a species that had survived isolation. This was a species that had weaponized it. The shuttle touched down at the Terran Union Capital Complex in Geneva. As Shikara descended the ramp, she was met by 2 humans in crisp military uniforms. 1 man, 1 woman, both carrying themselves with the calm confidence of apex predators. Ambassador Shikara, the woman said, extending her hand in the human greeting. I'm President Chen of the Terran Union. This is Admiral Katsuro, Supreme Commander of Terran Defense Forces. Shikara carefully took the offered hand, noting the strength in the president's grip. Thank you for seeing me. President Chen, I know our arrival must be unexpected. Unexpected? Admiral Katsuro's smile didn't reach his eyes. The Galactic Council hasn't sent a ship to Sol in 3 centuries. Now you arrive with weapons powered down and diplomatic codes flashing. That's not unexpected, Ambassador. That's desperation. Shikara felt her secondary heart stutter. These humans were direct. Dangerously direct. You're correct, she admitted. We are desperate. The galaxy is facing an extinction-level threat, and we have nowhere else to turn. President Chen gestured toward the complex entrance. Then we should talk. Please follow me. They walked through halls of steel and glass, passing soldiers who moved with mechanical precision and civilians who worked with focused intensity. Every person Shikara saw looked ready, as if they had been expecting war to come knocking. President. Chen led them to a conference room with a holographic display showing the galaxy. Tell us about this threat, she said. Shikara activated her data crystal. The display filled with images of the vector swarm, billions of chittering creatures, planetary surfaces stripped to bedrock, fleets consumed by living tides. They appeared in the outer rim 40 standard cycles ago, Shikara explained. At first we thought they were a local problem. But they reproduce exponentially. They adapt to weapons within hours. They don't negotiate, don't retreat, and don't die easily. Admiral Katsuro leaned forward, studying the tactical data with a soldier's eye. How many worlds have they taken? 412, Shikara said quietly, with projections showing complete galactic saturation within 18 cycles. President Chen's expression didn't change. And your combined fleets? 17 fleet actions, 17 defeats. We've killed billions of them, but billions more take their place. We're losing. The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Katsuro spoke. What do you want from us, Ambassador? Shikara met his gaze. Help, military assistance. Anything you can provide. In exchange for what? Lifting the quarantine. Full restoration of diplomatic relations. Access to galactic trade networks, technology exchanges, territorial rights. No. Shikara froze. What? President Chen stood walking to the window overlooking the city. 300 years ago, the Galactic Council came to our system. We had just unified our planet. We had just stopped our wars. We had just started to dream of the stars. Her voice remained calm, but Shikara heard steel beneath it. Your ships arrived with sensors scanning, weapons powered, judgments ready. You looked at us, at our history, our weapons, our conflicts, and you decided we were too dangerous. Too violent, too human. You quarantined us, Admiral Katsuro continued. Locked us in our own system. Told us we couldn't leave until we proved ourselves worthy of galactic civilization. Do you know what that did to us, Ambassador? Shikara's voice barely whispered. I can imagine. No, President Chen said flatly. You can't. We spent 50 years in confusion. Another 50 in anger. We had children who would never see the stars. We had dreams that died at the edge of our own system. Some of us wanted to fight you, to break the quarantine by force. But we didn't, Admiral Katsuro said. Do you know why? Shikara shook her head. Because we realized something, President Chen said. The galaxy didn't think we were ready. They didn't think we could control our violence. So we decided to prove them wrong. Not by becoming what they wanted, but by becoming what we needed. She turned and Shikara saw something frightening in her eyes. Not rage, not hatred, purpose. We turned our entire civilization into a fortress. We built weapons that would make our ancestors weep. We created an army that could stand against any threat. We prepared for the day when something would come, from outside our borders or from the stars themselves. Admiral Katsuro pulled up a new display. Fleet formations, ship designs, weapons specifications, numbers that made Shikara's breath catch. The Terran Defense Force has 6,000 capital ships, he said, 30,000 destroyers and frigates, 2 million aerospace fighters, and soldiers, 200 million active personnel with another billion in reserves. We've built weapons specifically designed for swarm tactics, President Chen added. Plasma web projectors, seismic resonators, nanite dispersal systems. We've spent 3 centuries asking ourselves one question. What would we do if something came to consume Earth? She smiled, cold and sharp. Now you're telling us something is consuming the galaxy, and you want our help. Yes, Shikara said, desperately. Then hear our terms, President Chen said. We will help you. We will deploy our fleets. We will fight your war, but not because you've offered us trade rights or diplomatic recognition. Then why? Shikara asked. Because it's the right thing to do, Admiral Katsuro said simply. Because despite what you did to us, we won't let billions die while we have the power to help. That's not who we are. But, President Chen said, her voice hardening, when this is over, when we've saved your civilization, the galaxy will owe us more than an apology. You will acknowledge what we've always known. Humanity isn't too violent for the stars. We're exactly violent enough. Shikara felt tears forming in her primary eyes. Thank you. Thank you. Don't thank us yet, Admiral Katsuro said. You still have to explain to your council that the humans they feared are coming to save them. He smiled grimly. Something tells me that conversation won't go well.